The winter of early 2023 was a whirlwind, layered with anticipation as I was gearing up for a significant event in my artistic journey. An opportunity arose that held the promise to forever change the course of my career. I was invited to present my artworks at a high-profile charity auction, a much-coveted platform for any budding artist. For the first time, my art would be put up for public bidding, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. A profitable sale at such a prestigious event would not only bring financial gains, but also elevate my standing in the fiercely competitive art world. I had mixed feelings, anxiety layered with excitement, as the day of the auction approached. Despite a rigid exterior, I could not ignore the butterflies fluttering in the pit of my stomach as I walked into the grand ballroom filled with murmured whispers and the clinking of wine glasses. The room was a sea of finely dressed art buyers, collectors, and enthusiasts, each of them potentially holding the key to my career's next big opportunity. With every passing second, my heart pounded in sync with the gavel, and as the auction continued, every glance, nod, and gesture seemed to hold profound meaning. Coming out of the abstractionist realm and engaging in such a commercially influenced sphere was a leap above my comfort zone. It felt like all my years of hard work, all the aloneness and the sacrifice, was for this moment. Regardless of the auction result, one thing became increasingly clear. The event marked a significant change in my perception. It was now crucial to consider how my art was received by potential buyers and not merely conceive it as a self-reflective medium. The process led me to reassess my approach to art and openly accept the influence of the market in its creation, while always staying true to my core artistic vision. That day, as my paintings transitioned from being mere objects of passion to actual commodities, I felt a tide of myriad emotions, chiefly of accomplishment. While I had always appreciated the resonance of my artworks with the viewers, I had never placed it within a commercial context. That day I realized that art, much like any other profession, required the right platform, the right audience, and the right time to truly flourish. My work at the Guggenheim was a turning point, something I had dreamed of since my days at Yale. Walking through the hallowed halls, where the work of many renowned artists once graced the walls, was profoundly humbling. It felt like standing on the shoulders of giants, a humbling realization that I was a speck in an ocean of countless artists around the world. Each step I took felt surreal, disbelieving that my art was now exhibited in a space where greats like Picasso and Van Gogh adorned. My heart pounded in my chest with nervous anticipation, while I looked over at my pieces hanging with an ascending sense of pride. It was a testament to my years of dedication to my craft, a vivid display of my journey from an amateur sketcher to a professional artist featured in one of the world's prestigious museums. The exhibition attracted those who hailed from various spectrums of society: patrons of the arts, first-time gallery-goers, fellow artists, and curious passers-by. I found myself standing amongst them, observing their reactions as they absorbed the ideas and feelings I portrayed through my work. There was something profoundly beautiful in the unfolding of these interactions, the hidden dialogue between the viewer and my creation. In the midst of the event, I carved out a moment of quiet to myself, standing to the side, watching this silent exchange, so powerful and so intimate. Of course, the fear of critique hung heavily over me, gnawing at the back of my mind. But each word of admiration, each look of awe, they added another brick to my resolve to continue improving my skills, to continue creating art that moved people, art that spoke to their souls. To see the tangible impact of my work, the subdued conversations, the pointed discussions, and the awestruck silence validated my creative journey. Standing there amidst the congratulatory words and artistic scrutiny, I realized the transformative power that a platform like the Guggenheim could provide. Each accolade, each critique, was an affirmation of belonging to the world that I had only dared to dream of. It was a surreal experience, a mark of validation that I had finally arrived in the fine art world. Following my exhibition in the Guggenheim, there came an unexpected lull. Summer had given way to the golden hues of autumn, with the city caught between seasons, much like my own self, between the exhilarating high of the past exhibition and the overwhelming uncertainty of where my artistic journey would lead me next. Amidst these shifting seasons and oscillating thoughts, I received an invitation to present my work at an art festival in the city. My artwork shared walls with creations from artists who echoed diverse perspectives and different walks of life, circling around the labyrinth that is New York. Surrounded by such innovative and bold expressions of thought, each art piece carrying a story of its own, my heart swelled with a sense of belonging. Here were people who, like me, communicated through sketches and strokes, colors and shades, semantics of the soul presented on canvas. On the day of the festival, under the glaring city lights and the twinkling stars, there I was, amidst a crowd now familiar to me, art patrons, critics, observers, and counterparts alike. There was a palpable kinetic energy, the air rich with anecdotes, discussions, and nuanced debates, beautiful symphonies of the artistic cosmos. Every corner reverberated with the life that art injects into people's worlds. The unmistakable buzz, offering a haven for our fraternity, washed over me like reassuring whispers of the evening breeze. An artist sees art far beyond the realm of the aesthetic, delving much deeper into the intricacies of narratives and emotions. There was some sense of solace and satisfaction in watching those amongst the crowd mirror my thoughts and passions. Each observer, each spectator inadvertently contributed to the puzzle that was my complex artwork, providing a contrasting lens to my perspective by putting their own understanding to the fore. Every compliment, every critique was a piece in the artistic puzzle that helped shape my thoughts, refining and developing my style and technique. I watched, almost surprised, as they admired my work and dissected it, expressing their profound thoughts on perspective and perception, while I observed the unsaid dialogue unfold. My art was revered, and it felt like I was now part of a world that I once watched from afar. It felt like I belonged. Every shared thought, every newfound perception was an acknowledgement of my journey so far, and the potential of where my art could take me next. This validation served as a beacon guiding me forward past self-doubt, beyond the comfort zone of familiarity, and into the dynamic currents of creative evolution. Staring at the empty canvas in my studio, I found a strange trepidation clutching me. Each rejection was a punch to my gut that left me gasping for breath. My ever-dynamic work, that had once been praised and hailed by critics, was now being disregarded. Why was my art not resonating with the collectors anymore? I was used to critiques, to judgments, yet each rejection was a raw pang, pulling at the seams of my self-worth. Doubt smeared the colors of my thoughts, as I second-guessed every artistic instinct that had guided me so far. Was my obsession with seclusion going over people's heads? Was my interpretation of loneliness too abstract? Each rejection felt like an interrogation, a relentless scrutiny under the sharp gaze of my own inner critic, gnawing my self-belief. Art for me was much more than a career or earning a livelihood. It was my breath, my emotional barometer. So was my self-worth limited to auction prices and critical reviews? Was I fooling myself into believing I was an artist? Or was I just a hapless struggler in an unforgiving world? The growing pile of rejection letters in my mailbox painted a stark picture of defeat, a reality far from the validation that I had sought, cracking the glossy pride around my Guggenheim moment. My art was essentially my reflection, my perspective interweaved with countless feelings and observations. But with each rejection, it felt like I was being brushed aside, leaving me feeling more excluded and helpless than ever. Art is never about the artist's acclaim. It's about the stories that seep from the canvas, invisible threads that connect us all irrespective of our unique paths. Back then, though, blinded by the ruthlessness of the art market, I was losing sight of this truth. My creativity was being overshadowed by these transient predicaments, causing me to question my identity as an artist. But then again, I was not about to be vanquished by these defeats. If there was any lesson I had learnt on my journey thus far, it was that the human spirit, my spirit, was far more resilient than I gave it credit for. Rather than discourage, these rejections only fueled my obsession to continue creating, to continue expressing the vivid palette of emotions that transpired within me. I was determined, unwavering in my resolve. My art was my way of understanding the world, and every hurdle, every criticism wasn't a sign of my downfall, but a stepping stone propelling me onto a higher pedestal. Of course, there lingered the fear of rejection, an ailment every artist possesses, but the most intimate relationship an artist can have is with his art. And so it was time for me to face the reality, to face the ever-taunting blank canvas. Suddenly, Isolation was not a product of rejection, but the consequence of my own turning inwards. An idea sparked within me, a series on solitude to depict everything that I had experienced until then. A new project, a new direction, and perhaps a new perspective to my art and experiences of the world. With every stroke, it was as though I was ripping into the fabric of my own mind, exploring the confines of my imagination in the solitude of my studio. Each artwork was a revelation of the innumerable fragments of loneliness, combined together into a harmonious symphony. I was translating the solitary notes of my life's composition onto the canvas. I was not just creating art, I was painting the silent tunes of my soul. Emotions poured out onto the canvas, spun together in wild, electric colors that intertwined isolation and freedom. With each piece, I delved deeper into the cobwebs of my solitude, my thoughts reflecting on the canvas like twinkling stars on a dark, ethereal night. I was no more painting. I was having a conversation with my emotions, with my work, coming to understand that true freedom and creativity can only grow on the fertile ground of solitude. What had seemed like a setback took its own form of victorious transcendence. I felt refreshed, powerful, and remembered the reason why I had chosen to be an artist. It was to share my experiences, to uncover my emotions, to peel back the layers of myself for the world to see, not for critical acclaim or validation, but for the shared understanding of our collective human experience. In our solitude, we were all connected, each soul carrying its brand of loneliness. And like a phoenix rising from the ashes, I had embraced my setbacks and channeled them into the painting of my life's narrative. Basking in the newfound warmth of appreciation, I quickly found myself on the precipice of an emotional sine wave. Acceptance and rejection danced around me like unpredictable flames, igniting and extinguishing my spirits in alternating patterns. Even so, the ember of my spirit remained unquenchable, aflame with determination and a relentless drive towards artistic exploration. My mind was consumed by a fierce wave of introspection, examining my solitude not as a punishment, but as a catalyst for unparalleled creative expansion. This constant oscillation between exhilaration from recognition and the harsh sting of rejection led me to the realization that success in art or any pursuit and acceptance are not linearly correlated, nor are they guaranteed. Perched on my stool, I began letting my brush dance erratically on the canvas. It traced a complex tale of contradiction, the vibrancy within isolation, the daunting beauty within rejection. There, in my quiet corner of the city, I fought my inner demons in vivid hues and aggressive strokes, each one representing a struggle or a victory. The triumph wasn't immediate, but when it came, it was blindingly beautiful. Staring at the artwork that lay before me, a spectrum of emotions churned within me, echoing the chaos and tranquility of the world that I had attempted to encapsulate. The critics may or may not laud it, the buyers may or may not invest in it, but I had triumphed. I had transformed the agony of rejection and solitude into raw, pulsing art. The rawness of my art resonated within the art circles, turning heads, raising eyebrows, and perhaps making a few hearts ache with its brutally honest portrayal of isolation. I found a strange sort of peace in this recognition, a validation not of my commercial success, but of my ability to weave emotions into palpable forms, to create art that spurred introspection and conversations. Thrust into the crucible of judgment once again, I found my isolation metamorphosing into the very essence of my art. It was a testament to my human experience, my journey as an artist, and as a man who held his brush in defiance of the world's expectations and created art as a testament of his indomitable spirit. That, I believe, is my true victory. Isolation, solitude, withdrawal, words typically associated with a chilling emptiness. But as an artist, they bore a different meaning for me. What seemed to be an absence only gave birth to an overwhelming presence of emotions, raw and unchecked. I saw solitude not as a punishment, but as an uncharted territory waiting to be explored. And so, with nervous excitement, I ventured into this introspective journey. I sought solace in the solitary silence of my art studio, surrounded by blank canvases reflecting my own isolation. Passing days turned into nights, and nights into days, as the enormity of quiet isolation became the only constant noise in my life. In the face of solitude, my mind became a wild garden, sprouting ideas and passions, painting frames of my life in bold strokes of isolation and beauty. It was here, in the solitude of my art studio, that I was texturing the raw canvas of my life, marking it with moments of despair, joy, rejection, and fruition, painting a picture as unique as my journey. In September, the conceptual seeds of isolation that I had been sowing bore exquisite fruits of creativity. My artwork, for the first time, bore the mark of a lone wolf. The fire of a man who had tasted rejection basked in the shadows of isolation and emerged stronger with every stroke of his brush. The critics may have seen it as art, but for me it was an undisguised soul print. With every stroke, my isolation found a voice, a medium of self-expression. Each artwork was a still frame in the movie of my life, a visual echo of my journey, my struggles, my triumphs. The art world began to recognize this unique signature of isolation in my craft, and ironically, my solitude exhibited at the city's most crowded art galleries. Damaged self-esteem, wounded pride, intact spirit, I embodied all of it. I was an artist who had faced rejection, embraced isolation, and had these experiences flawlessly enmeshed into his work. Every brushstroke was a battle fought, every finished piece a battlefield scorched and rejuvenated, the very essence of my artistic soul.